meet new friends.
A new one. Hello. So here we are, Saturday of Spooky Empire, and we just met Eduardo. It was so awesome because we actually brought something up that is outside of Stranger Things. And you know Eduardo as Brochachos. So we talked about his band, Dumb Bitches with Internet, and he was so appreciative that we knew something that normally is not known. So that's just a little tidbit. When you come to Spooky, find out some new things about your actor or celebrity you're meeting. So here, checking out some more of the stuff that we saw yesterday. We kind of filmed this area, so we're gonna probably see new vendors that we might have not got on camera, and if we did, we're sorry. But yeah, here's Spooky Empire on Saturday. The crowds are not that big yet. Most of them are in the autograph room for Twin Peaks, mainly Kyle McGoffin, which is cool. And I'm waiting for the other mother so we can go meet him. Right now I'm just with Slasher, so we met Eduardo, and he was really nice. So cool. So let's check out some more vendors. Wow. Check out these weapons. Such detail. Look at the mask. I saw Michael Myers mask before, and that's the vendor. And they're actually making a new movie here. They're trying to get support for, and it's called The Executioner. It's in for fans of Terrifier or the Halloween franchise. Wow, guys, check out this piece here of Vecna, Stranger Things. That's so cool. There's some other art here too. I really think this is awesome. We're Stranger Things fans, guys. Here at Spooky. This is the artist of that Vecna piece I just showed you. And you can see that they have tons and tons of other art and Vecna art.
How you doing, Lydia?
Yeah, fine. How are you? Really cool, guys. You even have a little group piece. We got a Skeletor. More Stranger Things. Here at Spooky Empire. Slasher, notice this one up top here of Mr. Heisenberg, Walter White from Breaking Bad. Really cool. Here at Spooky Empire. Here we are at AEO Studios. These are our buddies here, our chill buddies. And you can get tons of makeup here at AEO Studios. You can buy makeup to do yourself. You can take makeup classes, special effect classes with AEO Studios. It's located in the Orlando area. Definitely look them up here. This is the name. He even makes props and all that kind of fun stuff. Here are some of his props. And then we have the employee of the month over here. This guy. You must go for this guy if you go for nothing else. Cute little adorable guy named Coach. Here we are at Murder on Main, and they have some new products here. A lot of their own kind of designs on purses. Got some got some earrings. Got that cool haunted house. Probably not for sale, but really cool. Decorations here. We got like glasses. Posters over there. Murder on Main. Let me turn that camera this way. To show you some of the stuff they have here. Cool skirts. Murder on Main. These are the costumes you see at Spooky Empire. Spooky Empire. We got Gordy here.
There's a coffee place right out here. There's a guy with that.
So cool, guys. You look great.
Well, Billy's a lot older than me. So,
You know, first horror film, you know, I gotta admit, I love The Lost Boys. I love being in it, part of this whole thing, this journey that's lasted forever and keeps going. I was in another film called Body Snatchers, and that's a horror film. And I've seen that, and I love that film, and I'm proud of it. You know, but I'm not, like I think my first horror film that I probably blocked out was like The Exorcist, and it scared me to death as a little kid, and it was just too freaky, so I've sort of stayed away from horror. Like I'm not as, you know, I'm not a horror, you know, exceptional horror cinephile or whatever, but so I guess the first one was probably The Exorcist. And, you know, then I didn't really see too many after that.
That was mine too, and it was, I think I was 8,
Yeah.
way too young, terrified. But for me, it ignited that kind of spark where I was like, I want to be scared a little bit more. But yeah, it was brutally scary for a child.
yeah, I mean, I mean, some of you know that my dad's in The Exorcist. He plays Father Karras. But I'll give you a little story. It's not really a horror movie story because I didn't like them either. But I went to go visit him on the set, and they were filming in New York at the time. And I guess I got off school. I was probably 7 or something, and went into some sort of green room in a studio in New York. And there's a big chest of ice and sodas. That's a big thing when you're a kid, free soda. So I remember going there, and then as I turned, there was Reagan, full makeup.
How old were you? Do you remember?
7.
7. Oh.
And in the nightgown, the hair and all that, also getting a Coke, which I then dropped mine right back in.
You didn't even want it? You're like, no.
No.
If she drinks it, I don't want that.
in that water? No.
Oh.
And I remember, because we were young, that I'm asking my dad after, you know, what was the deal with that? Because the makeup looked so good, that takes makeup even up close. And they didn't really get into what was happening. I don't think they wanted to tell the 7-year-old about demonic possession.
Right, it's a little bit.
So they said she got in a car accident. That's what I said.
So they lied to you. But I mean, demonic possessions are hard for a 7-year-old to process.
Yeah, to understand.
It's a lie.
But I remembered that, man. It was scary.
So no horror movies, though? You're like, nah.
I think one of the first I saw was on like the $1 Million movie, one of those Brides of Frankenstein.
Oh, okay.
No, Brides of Dracula. And when I was a kid in the old candy stores or comic book stores, they had these really sexy sort of vampire type women comics that looked very similar to the young lady sitting right next to me. And I really liked them, but it was absolutely terrifying. So I was never a
It never hooked
horror.
you.
Well, not the horror part, some other parts.
The other parts hooked you, not the scary
I
parts.
wasn't into the movies, but I do remember the Monsters, Eddie Monster, and that is a TV series I remember liking.
Yeah, it's fun, and I think something like that was like a lighthearted way to get people into it. Wasn't Reagan with the blood, you know, and the pea soup vomit? That's a lot for a little kid. So you guys weren't into horror movies, but were you into Halloween? Oh yeah, okay, so do you remember, what is your very first, like, vivid Halloween memory where you're like, this is my jam?
I mean, I grew up in New York and we lived in an apartment building, and back then the costume that you really wanted was like one you get in a drugstore of Batman, which is one of those little plastic masks, and they put the thing on.
The little jumpsuit, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I still have that, by the way.
Do you really?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Oh, dang it. I was like, man, that would have been so cool.
It would fit on my foot.
I think I was a Batman 1.2, and I also grew up in the city in an apartment building, and you go up and down the elevator and you get your candy, and that was amazing. But I also remember just, you know, well, I could be a ghost. It's a sheet over my head. You put the eye holes, but then also like baseball players and different things like that. But yeah, New York City.
Yeah, Halloween's different in New York, and also, when we were kids in the early '70s, it was different.
Yeah.
You didn't really leave the building; you just did the building.
You didn't
That's
have to.
interesting
You didn't
to me.
have to. There were 200 people in the building, and
If you had friends somewhere else, if they took you next door, you didn't run around too much.
I feel like, so I grew up in like a suburban town, so it was very different. It was very much like door-to-door trick-or-treating like you see in the movies, but you don't see a whole lot of like, it's rare that you see New York City trick-or-treating, but it's kind of genius because you stay in one building. You don't have to go very far. You probably get a shit ton of candy, and you don't really have to work as hard for it. I mean, we had to like trek for it.
Yeah, you got to work it. I'll tell you another funny story. My mom also grew up in New York, in Central Park South, and who lived on the floor above her was Boris Karloff.
What?
Yeah, so and what she remembers is Halloween, and they were all terrified to go trick or treating.
Oh my goodness.
But of course,
that's
he'd
so
open the door
great.
and he was just a perfect English gentleman, basically
Right.
in an ascot.
Right. So fancy.
So she got to trick or treat with Boris Karloff.
But then
That's
I
pretty
remember
incredible.
in New York City, I don't know if this ever happened out here, I don't want to give anybody any horrible ideas, but it was always like, be careful, don't eat the apples, because people would stick needles in the apples, and pins, or whatever, just whatever, right? That scared me.
I mean,
If I pull this,
you could, yeah,
I'm allowed to break
you're
it?
allowed to do whatever you want.
all right.
I mean, I feel like we could technically give it to you, but I feel like you should
Yeah.
continue the journey a
I
little
think
bit.
there's some kind of fuzzy,
Yes.
spooky, Halloweeny, vampy
Ah.
type socks.
Yeah. Also, AKA mittens.
Mittens.
Well, I mean, you're wearing them as mittens.
That's how I
but
wear them.
Yes. I mean, you nailed it when you said socks, but it was fun to watch you.
Ta-da.
And they are Halloween themed, but they didn't really have Halloween. They have pandas on them. Or what is that?
Yeah, but
It's a
that's-
polar bear? I'm not sure. It's a polar bear, yes. And those are yours to keep.
Thank
if
you.
And Bill, you can have he's like, I don't want
Those
them.
are yours.
You're not keeping forever. Okay, so if you guys...
Checking out the vendor room now. Bye, guys. They look great. Mask. We got earlier. Everything is really cool here at Spooky Empire on Saturday. We just got done seeing the Lost Boys panel. Absolutely loved it. It was so much fun. So let's keep walking.